Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about self-love, and why I think it's kind of, not unnecessary, but I feel like we're missing some steps here when we talk about self-love. I hear a lot of people on social media always going on about self-love, loving yourself, learning to love yourself, but I feel like a lot of the time, when you endeavor for that, you're coming from a pretty dark place. A lot of people who try to love themselves come from being like super depressed or really down in the dumps or feeling negative about themselves. So it perpetuates them to seek out how they can repair that relationship with themselves. Do pardon if I'm looking at my phone for a little bit of this. I actually did write some notes down for things I wanted to mention, just because I don't really script my videos. I never really do, and sometimes a couple of notes will take you a far, far, far way, especially given how much I ramble. So, anyways, my perception of this is, the number one thing before you start loving yourself, and I'm not here to lie, I don't really love myself. I like myself, but I don't love myself. I came from a really dark place in my life where I really detested every aspect of myself for a very long time, and over a course of time went from being, despairing and hating myself, and obviously nowadays we all go through phases where we start hating ourselves again, and we just have to rework ourselves. But I went from hating myself, absolutely detesting myself in every capacity, to being more on the neutral end with myself. And now I'm like in the neutral to liking mode. I kind of treat it like it's a scale of measurement. So there's, hating yourself, being super depressed and hating yourself. Then there is being, neutral to yourself, chilling with yourself, being able to tolerate yourself at the very least. And then being, pretty relaxed with yourself, pretty level. You're not perfect about it, but you don't feel negatively about yourself and you don't feel positively about yourself. Then there's liking yourself. So, just enjoying yourself, enjoying your presence, enjoying what you can provide for society or what you feel in your day-to-day life. And then there's loving yourself, which I don't know if anybody actually loves themselves. I'm sure some people do, but generally speaking, I don't know, man. But to really preface, I feel like when we always talk about loving ourselves and all this stuff, we kind of forget that we're human, and we're we don't have to worry every day about loving ourselves or liking ourselves. Sometimes we're gonna have bad days, and we're not gonna want to do that. We're not gonna want to be nice to ourselves. There's a difference between being nice and respecting yourself. You should always apply self-respect, and you should never demean yourself. But if you're having a bad day and you're then starting to beat yourself up about how you're being super negative, sometimes you just have to be negative. And I feel like we kind of overcomplicate it because we're always trying to be super positive or give ourselves self-love and pamper ourselves when we don't really need to do that all the time. It's good. If we can, great, but I don't think I can. I don't know who really can. And I feel going through these compilations of people talking and really trying to figure out exactly where they're coming from, and feeling like I've been in the same mindsets as them, I really wonder if they actually do love themselves when they say they do, or if they're in these mindsets where they're trying to because they're sad, they're miserable, and they're trying to contrast that with a form of denial and self-love. And I feel like it might be more in that line. You might go from being 0 to 100, so you're in a really dark place and you're really negative to yourself, and then you're all of a sudden having to contrast that with being super duper positive and being egotistical and loving yourself because you can't handle being intolerant towards yourself, when there is that middle ground where you need to find neutrality first. So, and I love how I was writing these notes down and I'm not even reading them, I'm just rambling off again. Anyways, I feel like the number one thing you need to do is just be neutral with yourself amongst anything else. Learn to tolerate yourself. If you're having trouble tolerating yourself, if you literally hate yourself, and I feel like a lot of us come from hating ourselves. If you come from hating yourself, you can't really think of contrasting it as much with being I love myself. Everything I do, I love myself. Because you're in such a dark place already. The number one thing I think that is more helpful is just learning to navigate your emotions and relax with yourself before you try and worry about, loving yourself or liking yourself or loving everything you do and liking everything you do. And it's not to be negative. If you can perform that and contrast that much, that's great. But I just don't think it's as common, and I think that's why a lot of people are very torn about the idea of self-love and pampering themselves. It's because we just don't have a good grasp of exactly how that kind of lines up when we come from being very negative initially. Another thing that's really important to ask yourself is, why do you hate yourself? Like, if you come from hating yourself, or you really are intolerant towards yourself, you're really upset with yourself, why? Like, is it, you? Is it like somebody you've wronged? Do you keep wronging people, disappointing people from your perspective? Do you feel like, nobody will ever forgive you for something maybe you did in the past? Or is it more on the basis of you being, insufficient with your performance in life? Like, your job, your career, your friends. Maybe you don't have enough friends. Maybe you didn't go to school, or you went to school and you're in debt and you have a crappy job or something like that. Like, what is it in your life that is inadequate, or that you feel inadequate with yourself, that is perpetuating you to think that you do not like yourself? And if you recognize what those things may be, you can fix the things and then reassess yourself, like going out more, going and working more, or getting another job, or upgrading your job, or finishing school, or doing what you think you should do to fortify your life more and fulfill yourself, and also doing hobbies and, enjoying your life and making life more pleasurable. Because if life is more pleasurable, you'll feel like a genuinely happier person, you'll be more positive, and you can then kind of like reapproach your perception of yourself along with everything else around you. Now, the other thing, though, I have to mention is if you fix the problems that you perceive and then you still feel negative towards yourself, it might be that you need to reassess your perception of yourself, and it's actually just like a false perception, which I feel like a lot of people have. I'm personally like the worst person for this. I'm super hard on myself. Like, I beat myself up over everything, and I start stressing and obsessing over the stupidest things and thinking that I need to do this now, I need to fix this now, because I came from an environment in my life, coming from, the circumstances that I did, where I had, from what I perceive, I had to go from doing nothing with my life, like being an absolute loser in my own perception, to being like, go, go, go. And it started getting me further in life. So now my perception is always, it's not good enough unless I win. It's succeed or die. It's not relax, take a breather, take a breath. I don't have time to breathe. Like, if I have time to breathe, I have time to do something else. And it started making things in my life very unpleasurable. It's like, if I fail, then I fail everyone. I fail everything. And it's almost a weird egotistical thing where, you have this complex of inferiority that permeates every element of your life. And it's not a good mindset to have. And sometimes you do need to just learn to take a step back and like reassess everything. Look at yourself. Look at your life. Look at what you're doing with your life. What's going on that's making you freak out so much, And I personally still really struggle with that. Like, I always get really like, I panic a lot. I panic a freaking lot. I think that every 10 seconds, something horrible is about to happen. And if I'm not doing something now, if I'm not working on this, if I don't get this project done, or if I don't make more money, or if I don't figure out something, then I'm screwed. And if I say anything, I'm screwed. If I don't say anything, I'm screwed. Like, no matter what, I always get really, really anxious about not doing good enough, And I feel like it's just, again, it's like, it's perfectionism. It's obsession. And it's not a healthy mindset to have. So that's like a very big point. It's reassessing your perception of yourself and kind of trying to rethink like how you're seeing yourself, and making life more pleasurable in general and not being as hard on yourself. Like, this is another thing, is being hard on yourself. Not being as hard on yourself really is going to help you advance and kind of push yourself out of that bubble of like depression, self-hatred. And then you can kind of hit a more neutral state, and then you can start working on, okay, I'm chilling, I'm good, I'm level. What do I like to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to do with my life, Making life more positive and fulfilling yourself in life and doing the things that you desire, That's what's going to make life likable. It's also going to make life pleasurable. It's going to make you like your life and therefore like yourself by association. And sure, you can still look back on yourself and say, I don't like how I do this. I don't like how I do this. I don't like how I do this. I don't like how I operate in this regard. I don't like how I can't handle my emotions, or I can't handle the stresses of life or the chaos of the universe or whatever. But it's just a variable there where you can start learning to like yourself. And if you desire, eventually love yourself, if you learn to relax and just not hate yourself. And I think that people also have this like go, go, go view, because I personally have that and I'm not special. So I think a lot of people have it, where they're like, I have to fix this. I have to fix the problem. And sometimes it takes you doing jack and just relaxing and like thinking about not thinking and like, just having fun in life to solve the problem of you being miserable. And that's kind of how I've operated. I've always been in the mindset where it's like I need to somehow manually fix the problems when sometimes they'll automatically go away on their own. Like, if you have a problem in your life, you can fix it. If you perceive a problem, then you can fix it, you know? But not everything that you perceive as a problem is a problem. Sometimes it just takes you thinking about your circumstances and not overcomplicating things to really see what is an issue and what isn't. Is there something that's an immediate threat, or are you being the immediate threat to yourself by perceiving false threats, basically? And I can tell you, like, a step-by-step plan to do this, but I don't think that it will be accurate for anybody because it depends on where you're at in your life, how you perceive yourself. And if you perceive yourself really negatively, the best thing I can say is try and look at yourself more neutrally and try and just relax with yourself and think about how you can, like, just not hate yourself. You know, talk to other people around you. Try and let this out, because there might be something inside of you that you just need to let out and, like, talk about. Maybe something's eating at you and you think it's your fault when it's not. If you're already neutral, then you can focus on making more positive changes that go directly to the liking or the loving yourself thing. I just feel like when we go from 0 to 100 and we're like, I have to suddenly become really positive about myself when I'm miserable and I hate myself, it's not going to work. It's going to make you go like, no, I don't, that's not my life. That's not me. That's just a lie. It's like falsification of reality. So it's like, I feel like the better thing is to try and hit that middle ground before you try and jump all the way to liking or loving yourself. But if you can go from being super negative to, like, being super positive and liking yourself or loving yourself, that's fantastic. Like, that's something I'm personally, like, completely incompetent with. The only advice I can actually genuinely give you, no matter where you are on the hating yourself to not hating yourself to learning to love yourself ratio, is that the number one thing you as an individual should always do is find fulfillment in something that brings you joy. And I know it sounds petty, and I know it sounds stupid, like I know it sounds falsely deep and like hullabalooism-esque and just dumb, but the number one thing that has always kept me, even in my darkest places, going is doing things that I like. Doing things that I love. And sometimes I don't want to do them. Sometimes I'm miserable and I don't want to do anything. I just want to crumble away and die. But at least getting some kind of work done. Cleaning up my house, cleaning up my room, cleaning my apartment, organizing my art, doing something, you know, writing notes, writing my finances, anything. Just anything to not be doing nothing. Reading a book, writing, drawing, painting, you know? Even like whatever it is, playing a game, doing something with yourself that is just not you invoked in misery, going for a walk, you know, there's so many things. But the number one thing to garner fulfillment and happiness with yourself in life is to not act uselessly. You know, you need to operate with purpose in life. And I feel like a way that we get really depressed is us going like, having those days where we don't do anything with ourselves and we just waste a whole day and we tell ourselves, oh, I'm gonna work out, or I'm gonna go do this thing, or I'm gonna go do that thing, or I'm gonna go for a walk, I'm gonna go see a friend, and then you don't end up doing it. And then you feel like the whole day's been blown off and you've just wasted 24 hours of your life. And it's honestly one of the most damning things in your life. So I really have to encourage you guys, and I know I'm going off, but I really have to encourage, like, if you are struggling with having a negative self-perception, you really need to focus on fulfilling yourself, fulfilling your day, filling your day with things to do. You know, you can say it's a distraction. You can say that you're just distracting yourself from the morbidity and damnation of reality. But what would you rather do? Be invoked in misery and do nothing, or be anxiously doing things to combat the depression that, well, is worth fighting because life's worth fighting for. You know, and I know this is petty and stupid, and I know I'm going off about some stuff, but when I've been seeing these people on some of these compilations, and I've been looking at my own perception of myself regarding some of the perspectives I share with some of these people, you know, the number one thing that has always helped me when I'm in a dark place is doing things to increase my progress in life. And whatever those metrics are, you know, whether it's business or whether it's, you know, creating things, or whether it's just trying to organize my life and organize my day and assure myself that things will be okay because life's just not that deep, you know, that's when I've felt the best in my life, even if I'm in a really bad place. So I just want to push that, like, progress, self-fulfillment, finding your hobbies, finding things that you can do in life that make you happy. Those are the things that matter in life, no matter where you are in your mindset, you know. You don't have to be happy and love yourself. You don't have to be, you know, liking yourself. I encourage it. I encourage you to try as much as possible, but if you're in a bad mindset, you're in a negative headspace, the number one thing you still need to drive yourself to do is something with your day. Filling your life with things to do and things that usually will increase your fulfillment or make progress for you. So that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. What do you find really helps you when you're in a state of being, not liking yourself very much, not loving yourself, not being neutral towards yourself, or disliking yourself, or, where do you find that you fall on the spectrum of, disliking to, loving yourself or whatever, I gotta know, my people, because I feel like we really all struggle with having poor perceptions of ourselves. And sometimes it's just so not necessary, but also we overcomplicate and or damn the idea of just making progress in any direction, including little things that can get us to liking ourselves and loving ourselves. So that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below, my people, and I will see you next time. Slater.